Hello everyone, it's Andy Sy, and welcome back to another edition of the Friday Feature segment. For those of you who are new to the Friday Feature, my goal here is to basically just highlight some great connections of mine here in the Des Moines area who are making a really positive impact in the community as young professionals. This week, I am excited to have my good friend Alex Smith here with me. Alex is currently a student at the University of Northern Iowa studying accounting and finance, and he is also working this summer as an audit intern at Deloitte. So welcome, Alex. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Andy.
Awesome, man. So I'll just drop it to you and have you tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so background. I actually went to high school with Andy.
That's right.
Went to Dowling Catholic.
Roll Maroons.
Roll Maroons. When I was at Dowling, we actually ran cross country and track together.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
I think growing up, sports is where you really build your character.
I would agree with that 100%.
I'd say a lot of the character traits that I've developed throughout my life were high school cross country, man.
Hey man, you go through some of those workouts with your teammates, and that's something it's a bond. It really is. It's big time.
It really teaches you hard work, patience, grit, and determination at a young age.
You definitely do. You learn a lot about yourself going through some of those things, more than you really expect to, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so after high school at Dowling, graduated, and then actually followed Andy up to UNI where he already was.
That's right, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go Panthers.
Go Panthers. So UNI, like Andy mentioned, studying accounting and finance, got involved in the accounting club, went to some of their networking events, and instantly decided public accounting was kind of where I wanted to go for a career. And I had the privilege of interning this past spring with KPMG, and this summer I'm interning with Deloitte, and I'm really enjoying my experience so far.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. So I know we touched on it a couple times already, but working for Deloitte, what really is your role there this summer, and what are you doing for them this summer?
Yep. So Deloitte, public accounting is It's a year-round iterative process. In the spring, I was thrown in the middle of busy season.
Oh yeah.
We're doing a lot of substantive year-end test work, and so that was the spring internship. Now in the summer, we're doing a lot of internal control testing for our client. And that's in response to Enron and some of those corporate scandals.
Yeah. All of the big
stuff.
So
a lot of control walkthroughs with control owners or controllers or someone that has to make sure that the company isn't really cooking their books.
Exactly.
We're walking through them and then doing a lot of documentation. And then next week I'll roll on to a different client and we'll do Q2 quarter testing for press releases for the public.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool. So moving on from that now, you have a little side gig that you're working on called Wealthy Diligence. There will be a link to that in the comments below, so definitely be sure to check that out. This kid is doing some really cool stuff there. So talk a little bit about what Wealthy Diligence is and what was your inspiration behind starting that?
Yep. So whenever I talk with Wealthy Diligence, I start with our mission statement, which is we're trying to promote evidence-based investing and responsible money management.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So everything we do behind the site comes back to that main core principle. And kind of the inspiration for the site was I'm a big reader. So growing up, I've read a lot of different personal finance books. And it seems so glaringly obvious. It's easy. And I started listening to a lot of radio shows, Dave Ramsey, watching different YouTube videos, and I wanted to put all the puzzle pieces together into one comprehensive site, make it easy and digestible for your everyday person to understand.
Exactly.
And
makes sense.
And there's just the retirement numbers out there, they're scary.
They really are.
That the average savings rate right now in the United States is 3%. There's a simple calculation. Say you're 20 years old right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no specific age that is retirement. We think of 65, 62 with Social Security of being retired.
Yeah.
Really, retirement is just being able to live off of your income minus your expenses and you're set.
Sure.
So if your investments produce $50,000 a year and your expenses are only $40,000, you theoretically could retire.
That is correct.
But so
That's wild.
There's a calculation, it's called your savings rate is actually the only factor that influences when you can retire. Meaning, if you save 100% of your money, you're spending 0%.
Correct.
Well, if you're spending 0% of your money, can't you retire now? Because your expenses are zero. So it's based on that graph. Well, with a 3% savings rate, the numbers tell you it's going to take you 80 years to retire.
Jeez, and people still want to retire at 65.
Yeah, and so with the death of the pension,
yep.
We've seen inflation at really low amounts right now, but if inflation were to ever pick up,
right,
you need to save about 20-ish%, and that's even a conservative estimate.
Sure.
To take about 40 years to retirement. So anyone that's saving a lot less than that, you might be on a rocky road.
Right.
So my goal is to inspire the younger generation to really get saving hard and reach early retirement if even possible.
That's really cool, man. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So going along with that, what kind of quick advice if there even is any quick advice, but something that somebody could take today after seeing this, and what's something that they could start acting on right away?
Yep. So the first piece of advice I tell everyone is you have to get on a written budget.
Okay.
Beginning at the start of the month. So most people might say, well, I don't know how much I'm going to make this month. And I would respond to that. If you're on a salary, you know exactly how much money is going to be coming every month. And a quick Google search will tell you what tax rates are. Social Security's fixed, 6.2%. Medicare's fixed, 1.45%.
Yeah.
Your rent is fixed. Your health insurance is fixed. So realistically, you can narrow down your budget really quick. And another thing is, a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to focus on making more money.
For sure.
It's easier to initially focus on cutting your expenses than making more income. So that's the first thing, is getting on a written budget every month. And really that just allows you to tell your money where it's going to go.
For sure.
Not wondering where at the end of the month all your money's gone.
Exactly. It's more laid out in front of you. It's easier for you to understand.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense.
At one time, you are deciding where your money's going to go.
Right.
So I'm not saying don't go on vacation or do something like that, but just make it intentional at the beginning of the month. If that's something you want to do, you're planning for it.
Yeah.
So that's number one. And the second one is you want to make sure you're always paying yourself first.
Very good point.
So
yeah.
That means before you go out to dinner, before you go grocery shopping, before you buy a new pair of pants, you are saving money for your retirement.
That's big. Now, kind of to wrap things up, one question that I always like to ask at the end of every interview, it's called the Lewis Howes 3 Truths question. Lewis is the host of a podcast that I'm a pretty religious listener of called the Lewis Howes School of Greatness. And he asked this question to all of his interviewees, and it's, what are your 3 truths? Your 3 truths in this sense are, if you had to leave tomorrow and take everything with you except for 3 things, like, for example, pieces of content or thoughts of yours that you would want to define your legacy, what would those 3 things be? So, Alex, what are your 3 truths?
I think my top truth that I really want to get out to people is trading your time for money is the worst investment you will ever make. You got to get an ownership stake in whether it's a business, whether it's through investments, something that enables you to leverage your money to make more money.
That's awesome.
So
that's really cool.
That's top piece of advice. Second piece is, a lot of people say money doesn't equal happiness.
Right.
Which I would 100% agree with.
Right.
What they're missing the link is money equals freedom.
True.
And freedom equals happiness.
There is the middle link there that a lot of people don't.
The middle link is everything.
Right.
Use your money to gain freedom and to gain happiness.
Yeah.
And then my third biggest piece of advice, or kind of my truth, is really retirement doesn't have to be at 65.
Right.
Put in the work. You can retire by 40 or 50 and just try to lead the happiest life you can. Value your relationships. Make meaningful connections.
That's what it all comes down to.
It all comes down to people like doing business with people.
I've been saying that for a long time. Yep. That's really what it does come down to. Very good point.
Yep.
That's awesome, man. Well, I thank you so much for coming
thanks for having me on, Andy.
It was a lot of fun having you. Always remember, it's a great day to have a great day, and I will see you soon.